might be surprised to learn that the biggest turnoffs in text messages are actually very, very similar to the biggest turnoffs when we're talking in person. The biggest turnoffs in text messages are, one, they're generic. Two, they're a blank canvas where everything is on the other person to interact with them. The third one is they're just kind of icky or creepy. So I would say avoid those. We're going to break these down now. So the first one is overly generic. And I'm going to go ahead and start about dating apps because I have women constantly asking me to tell guys to never say this. Apparently never, ever, ever say, "Hey, beautiful," as your first text message. That is, to them, generic. I think it also comes to the third one, which is a little bit creepy. They're like, "Why are you talking about my beauty? I don't know you at all. Do you care about anything other than my physical looks?" With those generic sides, though, saying, "Hey, hi," actually, I've learned this recently, has become those general, normal, typical words that we use kind of turn people off because they're generic. If you say howdy, or you could maybe, what's up might be a little bit more interesting. Do whatever works with your style. But the point is, if it's overly generic, you're already turning the person off. My term is you're blending in with the pavement. I think a lot of guys want to stand out. And here I'm often talking to them about what they're wearing, but I think it applies to language too. You don't want to be this gray, brown, blending in with the pavement. You don't want to be overly general and safe. You want to poke out in a somewhat interesting way so that someone has something to react to. And this comes down to the second point, which is you don't want to put all the weight and the onus on the other person to come up with the creative ideas. You want to be gifting them in the conversation an easy response. You want to give them easy things to reply to. So my favorite music types that I listen to are this, this, and this. If you had to pick one of those to go to a concert and watch, which one would it be? Okay, that is like lobbing a little like rubber ball like to my 2-year-old niece slowly across the ground for her to catch. Like super, super easy. If I just ask them, well, what kind of music do you like? Okay, that is a much more from scratch answer that they're going to have to write themselves. And if they're a woman that has dozens of messages to reply to, guess what? You went from the top of the list right down to the bottom because you are asking her to do work. If you're saying, I went to this concert last year, I went to that concert, went to that one. If we could go back in time and I could invite you to one of those concerts, which one would you come to? Okay, not only am I making it so it's just pick A, B, or C for her to write back, I'm also giving her information and illustration of my life last year that she can jump into and observe. Again, no responsibility on her end. And then I'm inviting her to picture herself in that illustration of my life. When I'm illustrating, when I'm creating concrete pictures for a woman to interact with in my conversation, it brings to life things inside of her. It stimulates her imagination. And then when I have a question that I ask on top of that, the likelihood that she is going to respond and become engaged in the conversation goes way, way up. Again, the opposite of that, the weight of it is something like, how are you today? How are you? What's the person supposed to say? I'm fine. These are conversation killers. This doesn't take it anywhere. You said, what was the best moment of your day so far? Already, you're asking her about her day, but you're already asking her to focus on the positive points. So I'm sort of setting a certain energetic relationship to me by doing that. I'm also dialing it in and giving more refined parameters for her to speak to. It's so much easier to work with paint by number set. They're these little blobs. You pick the color out of the thing and you color it in and you pick another color and you color it in. It's easy for someone like me who's not a painter. It's easy to do because I'm just following along. I don't have to put as much effort in creatively until I want to. And that's kind of what you're handing her a little bit is your creativity, your imagery, your illustrations that hopefully are coming genuinely right out of your life. And you're saying, hey, do you want to color in this bubble or that bubble? And that is going to be like a game to her. That's going to be so much more fun for her to interact with. And what's her experience of you going to be? It's easy to message with him. It's so easy to talk. And at a certain point, her own creativity will kick in. At a certain point, you will hit on certain buttons. Maybe it's music and going to concerts that will start to stimulate her. And she'll be like, oh, have you heard of this band? Well, great. Let me take that message. I'm going to write down a little note here. That would be a potential date for the future. Or, oh, I love this kind of ice cream. Oh, well, I happen to find the place in town that has the best kind of that gelato ice cream for you. This is what you want as a guy. You're being creative. You're authoring ideas. You're making it very easy for her to respond and interact with that. And the whole point is to cultivate her own creativity so that she will start sharing herself with you. And once you have that, buddy, you now have fuel for the fire. You have the basic building blocks of fun, creative, interactive dates. And that's what you're looking for as a guy. And then you just kind of keep going through that cycle again. You have those experiences, you share more, you make it easy for her to interact with you. And then she's going to share more of herself. And you just keep going round and round that merry-go-round. And it's a lot of fun. I would say those are the things. Let's touch on that third point of the texting is don't be creepy. A lot of guys, we try to build a lot of connection and that'll get to the place of sexting and it'll get to the place of flirting a little too much. I would say save that for in person for the most part. Once you guys have been involved and you know that's part of the dynamic and you know that you would enjoy more overt flirting over text, that's totally fine. And I mean sexual overt flirting over text, cool. That's your thing, that's great. But I would say don't do that too much at all. It's fine to flirt. It's fine to be playful. But bringing in the sexual component, particularly when you're trying to get her to interact with you in a sexual way, or well, what turns you on and ooh, this and that, not really the place you want to go. Go there first in person, and then if it makes sense. So yeah, stay away from trying to create any type of sexual arousal over text. It sometimes works, but a lot, I can tell you this, like a lot of women are like, the last thing I want to see is another dick pic. Women get so much sexuality sent to them over text message. And they're like, this is not what I want. This is not what I'm looking for. And they're not even thinking maybe down the line I want it. They just have a hard no to it altogether. So just steer clear from that. Playfulness is good. Flirting and being playful is great. But leave the sexual component of it out of it. Save that for in person. All right, guys, would love to know if there are any other texting stumbling blocks that we run across. These are some of my favorites. These are some of the ones I work in with guys on a perpetual basis. Always learning more. Would love to know what you're going through. All right, don't forget to subscribe down below. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.